It's so great to see the auditorium full again. I think we have new faces also, so welcome to you all also. So it's my pleasure to introduce Jeannette Sordi. Jeannette is an associate professor of landscape and urbanism at the Design Lab of Universidad of Ibañez in Chile. She holds a PhD in urban planning and design from the University of Genoa and was a PhD visiting student at the Harvard Grad School of Design, where she worked with Charles Ballheim. Her research work focuses on the investigation of design and planning theories and devices based on recycling, landscape, and ecology. She's the author of the book Beyond Urbanism that reassembles the origins theories of landscape urbanism, recently translated to Spanish as Más allá del urbanismo. She's also editor of the book Andrea Branzi, From Radical Design to Post-Environmentalism, and the Ecologías Emergentes and the Camp and the City Territories of Extraction. She's co-organizer of the Landscape as Urbanism in the Americas project with Charles Ballheim and all of us, and principal investigator in the Part-Time Cities Research Project, a research that focuses on the coast, funded by the National Council of Arts and Culture of Chile. So let's welcome Jeannette to the stage.
Hi. As everybody said, thank you all very much to be here, and to the organizer of this symposium, to Harvard, David Rockefeller Center for Latin American Studies, Charles Waldheim, who's here with us, Malva, and all of us really that are still here engaged in the discussion. In this new panel, we're very happy to have emerging practices from Argentina, Uruguay, and Paraguay. Adamo Faiden, Monoblock, Lukas Fuster, Fábricas de Paisaje, y Bulla. I will welcome the first of these practitioners. Adamo Faiden is an architectural office established in Buenos Aires in 2005 by Sebastián Adamo and Marcelo Faiden, who is here with us today. They completed their undergraduate study at the University of Buenos Aires and postgraduate studies at the Polytechnic Institute of Catalonia. And their practice extends to the field of teaching, research, and has been internationally recognized by different media and institutions. Their work was exhibited at Chicago Architecture Biennale, the Guggenheim Museum, the Storefront for Art and Architecture in New York, Liga Architecture Gallery in Mexico, among others. They have also been invited to teach at numerous institutions worldwide, including the Royal Institute of British Architects in London, the Illinois Institute of Technology in Chicago, the School of Architecture in Madrid, Politecnico di Milano, Escuela de Ciudad in Sao Paulo, and Pontifical University in Chile. The work of Adamo Faiden has been compiled into 4 monographs that have been published in Italy, Spain, and Chile, and Argentina, and they're also founders of the Taller de Actualización de Técnicas Proyectuales, a postgraduate program where academic knowledge gets organized to rewrite present-day practice. Please join me in welcoming Adamo Faiden.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for the invitation. I'm going to talk about one project. It's called Plaza Catalinas. Okay, thank you. Gracias. This is the site of the plaza. It is situated between the financial district and Puerto Madero. Plaza Catalinas is about 55,000 square feet of public floor located in one of the few transitions from the city to the river. Most important thing is that it's located at the south edge of the first master plan for high-rise in Buenos Aires. This was Buenos Aires in the 60s, in 1960 exactly. As you can see, there are a few towers from the 30s. You can see the Cabana, you can see the Comega over there, and this is the perimeter of the new master plan, who will put towers not encrusted into the urban fabric, but into the new landscape. The plot is situated in a place that was actually the river. Just like Le Corbusier cited des affaires anticipated. The site was created because of the construction of Puerto Madero and Retiro train station in the beginning of the 20th century. The name of the urban plan is taken from the Catalina's warehouse company that is situated over there. The warehouses was the best program to have to link between the port and the train station. This program lasted a few years because the port moved to the north very quickly. But that's another story, I guess. Well, this is the Clorindo Testa project for Catalinas. It's a beautiful, complex master plan from 1960. It's important to say that it's only 8 years after Gordon Bunshaft's Lever House in Park Avenue. I mentioned this because I guess Testa understood very quickly the possibilities of the basement, as interpreting it as a tool to negotiate with the environment, using the roof, as you can see in this model, to literally bridge Alem Avenue, to connect the down part of the city over the barranca that is the most important section of the city. This is the same photo of the model. I have taken out the towers because the city government has the responsibility to build the basement. The basement has to link the new area to the city and ensures the diversity of program to the tower, to the new part of the city, like adding some workspace, restaurant, shops, parking, etc., but at the same time created elevated plots to private investors. That would be the best end of this project, but this is what happened. The story went like this because we had another economic crisis, so the city government didn't have the money to build the megastructure that supposed that basement. And of course, they needed and wanted to sell or to reuse the plots anyway, so that's what we had. We moved from a three-dimensional complex section to a flattened organization, from a master plan for just a layout telling us where to put an hotel, where to put a tower, where to park a car, and where to walk. The last plot from that side is where we work. So we started our project knowing that the only element we have to create a new contract between the high-rise and the city was this portion of a public floor. This portion of floor has already a tower designed by a studio from Miami that it was turned 40 degrees comparing to the other master plan, so it leaves us some tiny spaces around it. At the same time, the new tower has 2 levels of parking lots underground and machine rooms under the plaza, so we have to deal with physical terminals like ramp, ventilation, registration areas, etc. We also had to imagine the pedestrian routes, leaving 50% of the floor for vegetation in order to respond to lead regulation. So adding these variables, I have to say that the aim of the project was to synthesize them, to synthesize these variables in order to create consistency, in order to create a specific landscape to this part of the city. We try to dilute the hierarchies between the pedestrian floor, the vegetation needed, the infrastructure, so every accident we had was well received to stimulate the crystallization of the project. The diagram also projects itself vertically to create a sense of place. Here you can see more clearly how the project struggles with the symmetry of the tower, how it managed to turn the pedestrian path to get into the axis of the tower, and how it connects also with the other public spaces. I think the rules of the projects are flexible enough to imagine it can expand also outside the plot. I like this picture because it's kind of difficult to understand where the project starts or where it ends. This is the new landscape. This is the same city, but look at from new eyes. We have the chance to design all the elements of the system, from the tiles you see there to the street lights, also to trash cans. But I'm more interested in how these things are put together. This is one of my favorite pictures Javier Agustín Rojas took, because here you can see how every element relates to each other. Tower, vegetation, infrastructure, everything is in this little scene. Also, the security cabin or the access make an stimulation to find the final form of the project. For us, these small notes are the episodes where the project deals with all the variables I've been talking about. It's not just a detail. For us, it's how the negotiations are solved. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So the next office that is going to present in this panel is Monoblock. Monoblock works in the field of architecture and cities. They have developed a series of projects and proposals at different scales, exploring the multifunctional characteristics of landscape and infrastructure. Among this project, we can name the Museum of the City of Mar del Plata and urban projects such as the National City Park competition. They have recently been awarded the Young Generation Award at the International Biennial of Architecture of Buenos Aires, and they are also teaching at the University of Buenos Aires and the School of Architecture at Universidad San Martín. Please join me in welcoming Monoblock.
Thank you for the invitation. I'm going to speak about 10 years of landscape projects in Monoblock. We have been working since 2009 on humid soil condition of the city of Buenos Aires, taking a field of action urban project that in one way or another were an opportunity to intervene and propose a critical thought on the natural hydrological system of the city, from concrete opportunities of intervention proposed by governments through national competitions, specific projects, and academic work. We were building a scaffolding for a new landscape vision of the city. This work spread over time was understood as a laboratory, giving rise to an ethic and aesthetic about landscape in the city. 2009, Dársena Norte, there was a project, political and radical action on landscape on the Rio de la Plata. In 2010, Aquanismo. It was a critical and poetical view of the hydrographic condition of Buenos Aires. There was just a project with no purpose, just because we wanted to do it. 2011, Technopolis, there was a project of infrastructure to enhance of the Medrano stream. So to put on view the river. 2014, Playa Ferroviaria de Palermo was a project on a landscape interconnection in relation to the Medrano stream that is over the Juan B. Justo Avenue. In 2014, also it was in Quilmes, we made a project, an utopian project for an amphibious city on Rio de la Plata. In 2015, Science Park was a water infrastructure artifact as a recreational landscape for the Maldonado stream, also near the contest. 2016, Innovation Park. It was an urban project as a landscape and environmental laboratory on the White Creek. Is the very little river. It's beneath the River Plate field. 2017 City Park. It was an hydraulic experiment and natural abandonment as a public space of the Sildania stream, just in the south of the city. And between 2015 and 2018, in Monoblock, we were making like academic approaches on landscape in Fadu, Uba, and Unsam. Now I want to show you some video we made over 1 year of the Riachuelo. It was a register of the Riachuelo through La Boca to Puente La Noria. It took us like 2 biennales to build this video. Now I just will read like a short kind of manifesto for a landscape ethic. The purpose is to open a kind of a debate. There is no landscape without human eyes, but neither is there if it does not address geographical space, the territory, or its natural condition. That is, to all or part of the spatial environment attributes to a human group that occupies it, uses it, shapes it, and loves it with symbolic meanings. For a landscape ethic, A contemplative relationship with nature is not enough. Rather, we need criteria for the practical transformation of landscape. We must recognize that the city cannot be understood as an imposition of the territory, rather as a dialogue of continuous transformation into natural reality that persists and manifests itself. Working for new cultural paradigms that promote the integration, representation, and transformation of our environment and urban or rural territory and landscape units coherent with our geographical and natural environments. Thus, actions on the landscape do not refer to a project scale, a city, or particularly territorium, but rather to critical and reflective attitude before him. In this way, the scope of landscape ethic is global. So the meaning of this talk was just to show you all the work that made Monoblock in all these years, and we really think that it is important to have like an ethics on landscape while we are thinking city. So thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Lukas Fuster from the Universidad Nacional de Asunción in Paraguay. And Lukas Fuster graduated from architecture, taking courses in Buenos Aires, Argentina, and FADA UNA in Asunción, Paraguay, and UAV in Venice. He is professor of the Cátedra of Projects in FADA UNA in Asunción since 2012. And he has been professor in workshops and seminars in Asunción, Montevideo, Guayaquil, Quito, Talca, Santa Fe, Buenos Aires, Rosario, Sao Paulo, Venice, Oruro. He has his own practice since 2008 and collaborated in different public and private areas and projects. And since 2003, he works in collaboration with architect Javier Corbalán in Laboratorio de Arquitectura, becoming a partner in 2013. He's also director of Colectivo Aqua Alta since 2004, of which we had heard this morning. Welcome, Lukas Fuster.
Hello, thank you, Professor Charles, Pedro, Jeannette, and all of you to came here. Okay, if nature and the mixture of nature and human and the story of the relationships is equal to landscape, we can say there are several landscapes whose sum or association according to the territory they occupy result in other landscapes, unique landscapes. The Plaza of Nuestros Sueños is built on this mixture of landscapes using the best or worst resources of each of them. Those hidden and discarded resources, tangible and intangible, that become material and labor in a manifesto of the impossible. The territory where we live is a water landscape. The entire Paraguay is immersed in the basin of the Rio de la Plata. And the water course defines in a great part its political territory. One of these rivers, the Paraguay, from which the country also gets its name, divides the country in two different regions, the Oriental regions and the Occidental region of Chaco. This political division coincides with the ecoregions found in the territory. To the west, the Chaco, which is an ecosystem of Sabama and Palmar, and also divided in a dry Chaco and humid Chaco. And to the east, we have the Oriental region, which is composed by the Atlantic forest of Alto Paraná, El Cerrado, humid Chaco, and Pastizales. The forest map proposes certain differences or limits in comparison to the ecoregions. This is because nature is always changing and ecosystems are altered according to impact of man. Moreover, these regions are constantly contaminated at their point of contact. Contaminatio. The word contamination is usually associated to negative actions where humans are intimately involved from the outside. Little is said about contamination in its positive sense. The meaning of the word contamination has mutated to be related mainly to the environment and its deterioration, unlike its etymological root from where we can synthesize as the act of altering the purity of something by contact. The term comes from the writing technique contaminatio used by the Latin scriptwriter Nevio when translating Greek pieces. The resulting landscape of this mixture of biological region is peculiar in comparison to pure regions. These mixed landscapes propose unique peculiarity through its imperfection, through being impure. The artist Edith Jimenez worked her engravings using subtle transparency in contact areas, and these contact areas do not correspond to pure colors. They are the result of overlapping, the result of color pollution that each layer of ink could bring. In landscape, this gives a privileged biodiversity of fauna and flora. An example is the wide variety of local and external birds that can be seen in the Bay of Asunción. The bay functions as a station of migratory birds. Or the wetlands from the Salado River full of chaqueñas palms in its surroundings, giving us a result unexpected landscape. As did give of nicho, an ecosystem of Irupes, Victoria cruciana, is formed at the mouth of the Salado River every now and then. These contaminated landscapes denote the evolution of the human-nature relationship and how other landscapes were constructed. Of course, there is also the other contamination, known by all, the tragedy landscapes. This is in 2016 in the Rio Pilcomayo, where thousands of jacare were dead. This is Rio Confuso in 2017, similar panorama but with fishes. And furthermore, months ago, NASA published some satellite images showing the massive deforestation suffered by the Paraguayan Chaco. It's only possible to imagine a tragic end. It is hard not to mourn over these extreme situations, reason why we resolve in the neighborhood of Remancito to use this problem as a resources, as a possibility to carry out a project, a popular saying that the garbage of some is treasure to others. In Paraguay, there are no policies for trash, or rather, those that exist are outdated in some cases unsighted, as the case of stairs. It's forbidden to throw them in the garbage because they collect water, and in Paraguay there is an epidemic of dengue produced by the mosquito Aedes aegypti. Many people die of dengue, and this year the Ministry of Health has even declared a national emergency in this regard. Paraguay has approximately 15 million abandoned tires in its territory, and this is a calculation about how many tires per year. And the impact on nature translates directly into the quality of life on its habitat due to mosquito-borne virus and health problems they cause, including death. The environmental damage is incalculable since the time of the composition of the river is greater than 1,500 years. We took advantage of this situation as a possibility to obtain abundant free materials. In addition, since the tires have a long life, we thought that we could build a public space for the future, for a distant future, a square for Mad Max, for example. Another waste material that we find in the area is the residues of the ceramic industry. This industry often donates these residues to the people living in Remancito. In turn, they use those remains to consolidate the soil. Abandoned landscapes. Remancito is a neighborhood 10 kilometers away to Ibañez, and Remancito is a town in complete abandonment. There is only one plaza, a church, 8 educational centers, 3 health centers for 30,000 people. Gilles Clement, in the Manifesto of Third Landscape, first finds virtue in abandoned land, that of being refuge of biodiversity. These apparently degraded and or unprofitable lands have enormous potential for environmental restoration. As Clement, we find the community of Remancito certain intangible resources, such as the use of public space as an extension of the daily life, where there are no limits between public and private spaces. The project of Plaza de Nuestros Sueños consolidates this way of life by building an infrastructure that improves the quality of space and allows a greater number of uses. As we can see, in the pre-existing situations of the plaza, the use was almost exclusive for sports without consolidated soil and with a minimum infrastructure for children who came permanently to accompany their parents. The riverside condition of the city reverberated in an incipient way in the street with the presence of water. In time fluing, the lack of pavement in the square makes certain sectors useless and difficult. A hammock structure without hammock and 2 strings support all possible playground. The assignment came from Global Infancia Association, who have set up a community center that works with children and mothers, and who agreed to an international cooperation for the Christian Children Fund of Canada for the construction of an infrastructure for the first childhood for approximately 30 square meters. The allocated budget was $20,000. This was the expected of the contract. The condition to carry out the project in a participatory way through workshop with children from 0 to 17 years old was mandatory. Workshops were held with the community for 3 months with various techniques and material to interpret their needs. During the workshop, there was a permanent idea about what games for children could be. A typical metal structure consisting of a ladder, a wallway hanging from hammock and accumulating on a slide. We decided to build something appropriate for the entire community, not only for childhoods, considering that children grow up and that a public space for all ages was necessary in the community. With the same amount of money, we decided to do something impossible, occupy a third of the square, a space 20 times larger than the initial plan of 30 square meters. In order to pursue this challenge, we had to reduce costs, and major opportunity we found was to collect free materials. Our proposal was to construct a floor that articulates the space of game, and that can also be used when the river floods. 550 square meters of floor and 80 meters of footbridge where the games are built. 1,500 tries and 165 cubic meters of ceramic debris were reused. The only cost was transportation. Various games for different ages were designed in collaboration with their own users. The construction of the plaza was done in a mixed manner with qualified people and members of the community so that the appropriation of the project is guaranteed. The debris become building material transformed into construction systems. Also, in some cases, they're used in a pure form. The context was incorporated as part of the project, both the existing games and surrounding water. Finally, considering the intense heat characteristic of Paraguay, we believe it was necessary to build shadows that would allow people to visit the plaza all day. We reconstructed a public space contaminating. Thank you.